Welcome to the latest episode. I keep forgetting what number we're on, so at this point, I'm just going to say the latest episode of Sheev's Throne Room podcast. And this week, we're talking about Light of the Jedi. So, spoilers ahead. If you haven't listened to it or don't care, turn it off. This week, it's me, Adrian, and Sean, because we're the only ones that actually read it. So, first off, what are you guys' like overall thoughts, concerns, impressions?
It feels like an introduction to like a TV show. They're talking about every character and stuff. So it's kind of like a slow start, more or less, for me.
Is this the
But
first Star Wars book you've read, Adrian?
yeah, this is the most invested I've been to Star Wars ever. So I'm lost. So much was happening.
So it
But
sounds like Operation Convert Adrian into a hardcore Star Wars fan is going
I'll
just
never
as you
get there, but
planned.
I'll be definitely more into Star Wars within this next year
This is
than I've
how it
ever
happens, though. Yeah, but this is how it happens. Like you get started on a book, you read a book, and you're like,
been.
"Fuck, this was good," and then you read another book, and you're like, "Oh man," and then you go to like I don't know Celebration, and then you're like, "Well, I'm hooked," and then you start collecting stuff, and then when you start collecting Lego figurines, that's when you know that
No,
you
no, no, no,
really.
no, stop. Stop me right there. I'm not gonna turn into encyclopedia cuck over here.
Good. Good.
Yeah, yeah.
That would
But
be
yeah.
that would be
Cuck
amazing. I would.
Cuck is the Jedi archives all in one person.
I'm Jocasta new.
Oh, yeah. But if Shikasta knew had all of the data in her brain. Uh, um, my general overall take on it was one, it was not bad. It was I'm gonna preface everything I say in this episode, which is episode 7, by the way. I'm gonna preface everything in this episode as I listened to the audiobook and that was a different experience for me. And I mentioned this to you, like we were talking about this
hmm
offline. But I feel like listening, like the way that I generally read books is by, reading them. So audiobooks are kind of a new thing for me. A new thing in that I haven't ever invested seriously into like a whole audiobook with like characters and like a story and like all this. Generally, they're more like the self-help books where I could listen to someone talk about it for a few hours. Like those are the ones that I generally listen to in audiobook format. Um, but this one was different because you had a single narrator narrating everyone's voices, and for me, that really made it hard to separate out the different characters. He does a fantastic job of like creating the different voices, but it still wasn't enough separation for me to like mentally create and build these voices that were attached to characters who were unique and individual. So I had a bit of an issue with the characters in general. Again, I don't think that's a problem with the writing or the book itself. I think that's more just me adapting to an audiobook kind of setup. So overall, kind of the same way as Adrian, like same thing as Adrian. Like it felt like an introduction to a lot of different characters, a lot of different stuff. That was a little bit hard to keep up with. You've mentioned like Game of Thrones a
Yeah,
couple times, and that does feel pretty
it's
accurate.
very much like Game of Thrones. Watching it for the first time and being or
Yeah,
reading it and being like, who the hell's family is they from and what Jedi?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
But it was a really cool book overall.
yeah.
it was definitely the most like expansive of the books. Um, Strictly for me, I listen all audiobook. Like that's all I do. I don't read anything. Um, so I'm used to the narration and all that.
Hmm.
But for this book, in terms of the canon, it was the most expansive and like it felt like a movie in book form back in the old
Hmm.
days of Legends.
Hmm.
Definitely did.
Which is great. Uh,
What did
I
you think of it?
overall I loved it. They added some really cool stuff with how Jedi perceive the Force and how each individual sees it differently, and I love that.
Yeah.
Because that's I feel like that's something that gets lost in the prequel era, which I mean I think they're going to lead into. Which I don't know. There's some really cool stuff. Marchion Ro is one of the best Star Wars villains out there.
Oh my God, my Shunro. Whoo.
Dude's
Yeah.
so sick. Dude's
It's
so
fucking
sick.
badass.
All the stuff with like the paths and all that. I'm like, that's never been done. That's cool. Um, the Great Disaster was brutal. Like describing the families just disintegrating in air was like, holy crap.
It's a good way to kick it off for sure.
I'm pretty
It was
sure
really
Avar
chill.
Chris and Elzar Mann are boning, but
Oh yeah. If you weren't sure of that by the end of the book, then you weren't reading that book.
yeah, I'm like, okay, that's there. But overall,
Yeah.
I really liked it. I thought it was a really good setup.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of storylines that I'm curious to see play out as their own stories. Um, like the Avar Chris story, like how she got to where she is. That's going to be a whole, like once people really connect with her as a character, they're going to want more. And that's, I think, when we'll probably get more content kind of exploring her life. Maybe not as like individual books, but maybe just more in the stories as they kind of roll out, of her revisiting her past and what happened there. Um, but there's also like, where's Buriara gonna go? Like the one I think everyone probably is, I wouldn't say most excited for, but the one that kind of feels like the most like the next step in the story is definitely Belle's story.
Yeah,
Because you have, Loden, who's now a prisoner, um, of Marchion Row, who's like launching his own thing. Like the end of the book really grabbed me. Where like the middle of the book may have lost me a little bit. The end of the book grabbed me again. Like the last like probably 4 chapters, I was just like, oh, 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 okay, now this is good. I got that little like you read a good plot twist, you get those chills. Got that. That's how I gauge whether a book is like, a really good book. At least, towards the end. And definitely had that. There's a lot there that can kind of turn into like you said, it's expansive. Like there's a lot that you can kind of expand into from this. It kind of like as a like a big bang for this section of Star Wars just kind of exploded with all these stories that we can now kind of follow along, and I'll be excited to see literally all of them. They're all really, really interesting characters.
Yeah.
Porter Angle is the dopest Jedi that they've ever made. He was the
Who's Porter
cook.
Nicole again?
He's the cook.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, he was
He's
good.
like the like brutal warrior. He's just a cook now.
Yes. Yep. The one that everybody was like, oh, he's just, we've heard stories about him, but he's just like, he's just a cook. He's just kind of chill. No one's really seen him like pull out the big guns, and then he pulls out the big guns, and you're like, whoa.
All the stuff with the or the Santeca clan is all good. Like I love the stuff
Mhm.
that's in the background of all this. There's a
I just want to see what the Nihil do.
yeah.
Like, just more. I just want more of them.
Well, you guys haven't seen the Drengir yet. Like that's in the Into the Darkness. That's the third book. The
Right, right.
like them mixed in with the Nihil. It is gonna be interesting. Um, there's a theory going around that the Cloud Riders from Solo, like Enfys Nest and stuff like that, are descendants
Mhm.
of the Nihil, just because of the Nihil call themselves like strikes, clouds, all that, and then the Enfys Nest is literally called the Cloud Riders, and they wear masks and stuff like that. So I really like that theory. Um, what were little parts of the book that you guys really liked?
Oh, um, I would say the chase scene for whatever
Oh,
reason
with
Damn,
really,
is that the
really
last part?
I think that's the
the
last
chase
act
scene.
with
The
the
chase of the
Steelies and stuff
family?
like that.
Yeah, the chase of the family was, well, it was like the end of the second and the beginning of the third act, right? There
Yeah.
were three total, right? Or am I
I was gonna
adding
say that
fourth
one
one?
too.
Because the
Yeah, that one was
first was the Great Disaster. The second one was like basically figuring out what was going on, and then I guess the
yeah.
final was like them chasing, and then also like attacking the Armada.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And the
Yeah,
Nihil
that
pretty
one,
much saying they're unstoppable. Well, they think they
right. Yeah, that was kind of there was kind of there was the introduction, there was the chaos of the introduction of all of these different elements, and then the middle part was kind of the settling, figuring out where everyone was, what everyone was doing, figuring out the great disaster's cause, as well as the flip side of that, Marchion Rowe kind of consolidating his power and figuring out how he was going to make his grand scheme turn into the big reveal at the end. And then the end is really was just kind of the big reveal for everything. Like everything just kind of sped up and turned into this like epic climax at the end. But no, from like just I guess from the perspective of like something that felt very Star Wars, that chase scene felt very Star Wars for some reason. Like I could imagine every inch of it, and it was just like it was thrilling. Um, and you didn't know what was going to happen, and you kept hoping there wasn't plot armor, and there wasn't a lot of plot armor.
No,
So it was like,
no, there wasn't.
whoa, I was like, whoa, they're gonna kill people. They're killing people. Okay,
I'm like,
wow,
they might
all right.
straight up kill the kids in this.
I was like, they might kill these kids.
I was saying that.
Uh,
He's like, just throw him out. I'm like, what do you mean throw him out of the ship? And he did that. I was like, damn, they went there.
yeah, they went there. I will say, like that entire piece was like a really, really good piece because then it kind of transitioned into the big, like the ambush,
Yeah.
the what was it, the strike? What was her name?
Oh, frick, I forget her name. She's one of the leaders.
Yes, she's one of the clouds. No, she's not a cloud. She is a strike, right? I'm still trying to keep.
Honestly, it's been a little bit. Like, I finished it like a month and a half ago. It's
Yeah.
Tempest Runner. Tempest Runner. That's what
Tempest
it's called.
Runners. That's right. That's right.
And
And what's her
she
name?
is
Her name was
Pan Ada. No,
no,
Lorna D. That's what it was.
Lorna D. There you go. Yep. So yeah, when Lorna D shows up, that was like you were just like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? And then like there was definitely that traditional build up to that point, which I kind of appreciated, where Loden Greatstorm has like kind of like touching moment with Bell, where he's like, "You're a master. I'm gonna, or you're a
You're
Jedi
gonna
Knight.
be a knight."
I'm gonna be there." Blah 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 blah. He's like, "Oh, that's so great." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, I'm
he's
like,
dead.
oh,
He's
he's not
dead."
making it out of this.
Yeah, there's no. Yep, this is. Yep, there we go. Okay, cool. Nice setup. It was too predictable, so I didn't love the predictability of it there, but I did kind of love the heads up, which kind of ended up in a good spot because like he doesn't die, but he is part of this whole entire plan, which we're now, you didn't find out until like the very, very end, which I appreciated. Like when
Them.
Marcion Rose kind of whole plan fell out, which was my second favorite part, was when his plan kind of unveiled, because it was a very good like, oh, like when you start to see like how he like masterminded everything from behind the scenes and maybe had this planned out in a lot more in advance. I did not give him that much credit. Like he was a cool bad guy,
Yeah,
but he
now
wasn't a
he's
really
planned
cool bad
everything.
guy.
Literally
Right.
everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is he the one who said like, I never wanted these miners in the first place. I wanted the Jedis?
Yeah,
Or was this?
he
Okay.
knew that there was a outpost there. He was the one that called the
Yeah.
Jedi.
Okay,
Um,
because that's where the narrator's voices got me mixed up. I'm like, wait, who's talking? Is this
Yep.
Martian
Same.
or yeah? Okay.
that when they described Loden's leg breaking when he was coming into the airlock, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh,
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. There was definitely a lot more respect for space.
yeah. We haven't really seen that.
Right. It like that's something that definitely felt like it's been missed in other, and like Star Wars was never focused on the fact of like the physics and the probability of, ships in space. Like they've managed to explain how all of it works in the over the years. But like the older movies, the older books, they didn't really explain it. Like there was a bit here and there. It's like some of the more um like I don't want to call them smart, but some of the more like detail obsessed authors kind of wrote them into their stories of like, well, space, and this is what happens, and this is this, and this is this. There was a lot of respect for space, and like you got the feeling that they were in space and that space was still like a threat, I guess. So I appreciated that in the writing. That was a detail I appreciated a
That
lot.
whole scene of him landing on what was it, like the ship or whatever, when
Yeah.
trying to rescue the dad, reminded me a lot of The Expanse.
Yes, very
Yeah.
much, very much.
Just in how they describe space and how he was landing and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sucking all the airlock opening and all that. I don't know. It felt very much like The Expanse to me.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
it's
I
not a
would
bad
agree.
thing.
Yeah.
I really liked all of his, like, I think my favorite character, obviously Martian Rowe. Dude's dope. But
Yeah.
Elzar Mann, think he's gonna play a huge part later on. with his like precognitive abilities or whatever that is with his vision that he had at the end there. But I just think he's kind of cool. He's also like kind of the father of the Jedi mind trick, which is cool.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, yeah. That was one of his techniques that because his whole thing is he never wants to use the Force the same way twice, and he's the one that kind of
Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry. I just had a moment just now where I tied an earlier portion of the book to a later portion of the book where I had a better understanding of who Elzar Man was. I didn't realize that he was the one that was doing that because I remember that being talked about. For some reason, I thought that was some like older. Okay.
no
I'm
no
tying
the,
parts of
he
the story together now.
Elzar Man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Elzar Man's cool.
I, he's dope.
Um,
He reminds me of
I le
Qui-Gon and Quinlan Voss.
Yes. Yes. I legit thought that he was going to be a bad guy because the start of that chapter was like the enemy, or was it the prologue? I think it was the prologue.
I forgot.
Um, but it was titled like the enemy. And I was like, oh crap. Betrayal in the Jedi Order. No.
Not
And
yet.
then
Not yet.
not yet. Not yet. Nope, we're still good. He's just having a really bad vision. Um, but yeah, I got to appreciate him a little bit more towards the end. And I think I appreciate him more now that I've tied his story together with the part that I couldn't keep track of
Mm.
early in the book. So yeah.
Adrian, who's your favorite?
So I'm trying to decide. I'm thinking through characters. Uh, Besides Marcion Rowe, because I feel like it's just a popular, like a lot of people should
Everybody
like him.
likes Martian Rowe. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, I like Belle.
yeah.
Uh,
Bell's dope. I honestly,
he's
there's not a character I didn't like in this, but
like for the like just the whole story of like hearing him like who he was and how he is reaching to get out of being a Padawan. Um,
and Ember is dope.
mhm. It was cool. I'm really looking forward to like what else we're gonna see from Belle.
Yeah. I definitely I enjoyed the I don't want to call it the politics side of this one, but
Oh, the
there was
Chancellor is
definitely
dope.
politics.
I
Oh,
love.
she's
She's
amazing.
so cool.
Yeah, I like understanding the role of the chancellor. Like, I feel like I got a better understanding for like what the chancellor does in the government system of the Republic.
Yeah, because all we're used
Um,
to is seeing Palpatine, and we all know how
right.
that went.
Yeah. Like the prequels didn't really do much to kind of fill that information in or really like flesh that side of that out. You just kind of saw what happened or read what happened and kind of associated it to like how things work today in modern republics, and it didn't like there's no life in it, and this one really brought that together. um Especially like I this is a weird detail, but I love that there's a mountain
Yeah,
on
so that's
Coruscant
been
that's never been touched.
talked about in like other books, but obviously like in like the Rebellion era and stuff like that, and it's just buried because the city finally swallowed it up. But like
Yeah.
I love that detail because it has been talked about that there's one mountain, but the city's just gone above it, and I love that they put that in there
Yeah.
because
Yeah, she was a Oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say the original concept for Coruscant, like way back before it was even shown, had a mountain rage and stuff like that. So it was just little
Ah,
stuff that they pulled out from there. Um,
nice.
they even talked about it. I think it was Heir to the Empire, like Timothy Zahn's first book there,
Yeah.
where Luke's drinking hot cocoa and looks over and sees a mountain, of course, and that was before we've ever seen it. So I don't know. It was just a cool little detail.
Huh.
It's named the same in Legends as it is now.
Gotcha. Yeah, Lena So was definitely probably one of my favorite characters in the book.
Yeah,
She I don't know, there was like I'm not usually a fan of politicians in Star Wars just because I'm like, whatever. Like Padme was like Padme. She wasn't really a politician. She was, but she wasn't. Like there was a politician. Like that was her job, but that wasn't the focus. Lena So was like a politician, but you loved the fact that she was a politician and she was kind of a badass. And she had the two Targons, which until I saw the clip that they did in the comic book panel that actually showed the Targon, I was like, I don't know what a Targon looks like. So I just kind of
it's
imagined
dope.
them as big cats.
Yeah,
And then when I actually saw the picture, I was like, oh, that's kind of badass. Um,
I didn't know either, and I just saw the picture of it. I was like, oh
It's
shit,
literally two
these are
lions.
cool as fuck.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
the political maneuvering and gymnastics that she did were incredible. Um, the espionage elements that were thrown into it were also fantastic. Like it had a good feeling. It kind of reminded me a little bit of some of the politics that you get into in Clone Wars when you're dealing with Obi-Wan and
Satine.
the Mandalorians.
Yeah, Mandalorian and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like it very much felt like that. Like the story had this like this rich element that kind of was brought in by like in detail bringing politics into it to kind of show you how it affects and impacts the story. Um, so yeah, that was cool. I say this like the prequels never happened, but I'll be honest, I didn't connect with politics that much in the prequels. Politics has been more of like a thing we kind of discuss around it and how like it really, like Star Wars really does have kind of all kinds of politics wrapped up into it. But I don't know. This was a piece that I really enjoyed in the book.
Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it was a perfect starting off point. And I mean, there's a reason why it was New York Times bestseller for 5 weeks
Yeah,
in a row or whatever. They're,
I mean,
like,
yeah,
it's literally like an introduction to like a show. Like we're
yeah,
just
it's
introducing
it's
everybody.
the
This is who they
prologue.
are.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
And
are you guys gonna read Test of Courage or Into
oh
the
yeah,
Dark?
oh yeah,
I think I pretty much might.
absolutely.
Because
Test
you
of,
said like they all tie in certain ways.
yeah, they
Like
all tie in. I mean,
it's not the next thing that happens after this, but
I think Skier, the Trandoshan Jedi, is in all three at some point.
okay. I think at the end I'll just ask you to send it to me, and then
Yeah, the
we'll go
first
from there.
one, the second one is basically like a young adult novel, so it's only like 4 hours long or something like that. Honestly, still recommend it. It's really good, actually.
Oh, not 16?
What's that?
Not
Not
16
16. No,
hours?
Into the Dark is 13,
Oh,
which is actually really good as well. Very different. They have a character that's very controversial in that. He's literally a rock named Geode.
oh, I see the.
What's that?
No, I was just looking at the books.
Yeah. The next one is coming out, I believe, in May by Cavan Scott, and I'm actually really excited about that one too. It's gonna
Nice.
have Stellan Gios, who is Elzar Mann and um, Avar's like Padawan buddy, the third wheel to
Hmm.
their banging fest.
Uh-huh.
Sick.
But also
Cock, if
like
you will, to that whole relationship.
Stellan,
No, stop. I was just joking.
yeah, it, it's opened up a world of possibilities. And then the fact that they even have Yoda in there, but he's not like the Yoda we know. I don't know. It's
Right.
really cool.
I
Yeah,
appreciated that. Like they mentioned him, but
they
didn't
did.
overemphasize. Like it was like, oh, Master Yoda, he's this really cool master. But like,
He's on sabbatical.
right,
And yeah,
he's also not necessarily doing a whole lot right now because he's still pretty early on in his career. He's like what? Well, actually, probably
No,
not
no,
early
he's
on.
on the
He's
council.
probably
He's just on
midway.
he's just on sabbatical from the council.
Gotcha.
So he's basically running around the universe in a ship training Padawans or
Well,
younglings.
isn't he filling out the what was that thing called? The thing that keeps the log of all younglings in the known universe.
Oh, who knows? I haven't read the comic yet. All I know is that he found the purple thing on Marcion Ro's
you
ship
haven't read
on the last
something.
comics are the only thing I'm usually behind about by 3 months,
Interesting.
just because like don't have anywhere to find them. And the Marvel Unlimited app is 3 months behind. So
Yeah, I
I
was gonna say I checked it out the other day, and I was like, it still doesn't have as much as I thought it would.
the backlog though is really good.
Okay,
Um,
I'll have to check
it
that
just
out.
wouldn't
What
have
do you
the
think of the?
what's up?
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No. I what's up?
Oh, I was gonna say, what did you think of the overall pacing of the book?
Oh, I
Like,
thought it
I
was
thought it was pretty on point. Like they
Charles
like
Soule
it,
is literally the best Star Wars writer there is.
yeah.
I'll preach it to the ends of the earth. He's the guy that did the Darth Vader comic. He did the Poe Dameron comic. He's doing Star Wars mainline right now, and now right now they're about to release a Boba Fett miniseries about
Oh, nice.
about Boba getting from Bespin to Jabba's palace, and it's all the bounty hunters hunting him. Like
I
Charles
was gonna
Soule
say,
is
oh, go
literally
ahead,
one of the
finish.
best writers. What's that,
I
Adrian?
was gonna say like to like for the type of book it was and like to follow it along, it was pretty simple to understand. Like I never got fully lost. I was like, wait, where the fuck am I? Like what's happening here? It was really like, okay, so we're here. This is what's happening. All right, I'm good. Let's listen. Um, but yeah, it wasn't anything hard to like
Yeah, no,
understand.
it
Never got
was
lost.
that's the beauty of how he does it. He does some very high level Star Wars like lore stuff that makes
Mhm.
sense. That you read it and you're like, oh, okay. As the common Joe, I know what's going on. He did some stuff with Vader. It made that was super weird. Like if you'd seen it on the screen and it was any other way, you would be like, what the heck is happening?
Hmm.
But the way he writes just makes it. Oh, I'm not an idiot. It's just beautiful. I will literally like he could write Star Wars for the end of till the end of time, and I'd be happy. But yeah, that's me fanboying over Charles Soule.
It'd be fun to get him on the podcast at some point in time in the future.
Yeah, I almost met him at
Goals.
No,
Celebration.
he wouldn't speak. Cook wouldn't speak the whole thing.
I
He'd
would
be
just let him
tutoring
talk.
us.
He'd be trying to pick his chin up off the floor.
I almost met him at Celebration, but we ended up going to a different panel instead.
Yeah.
But yeah,
At the end of this book, did we end up with three Tempest runners or
two,
only one?
two. One of them died.
Oh, that's well, yeah. What's his name?
The guy with the gun getting on his crew, named like
Yeah.
Bubbles or
He got
whatever.
obliterated.
Uh,
Um,
Cassif. We
yes, that's right.
we
That's
ended
right.
up we ended up with Pan Ada and Lorna D as the last two Tempest
Yeah,
runners, and I'm sure we're gonna get another one introduced. But
yeah. I seriously thought that they were gonna let him run with the whole let's create a new Nihil, um, as like an expansion to the universe to
I
introduce like
think we're gonna see that
another
with like
threat.
Lorna D.
Yeah,
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 I think
yeah.
Cassif was too. I mean, the dumbass went up against Moff Tarkin's home planet. I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, is that what? Oh, is that what he did?
Yeah, that's Grand Moff
Oh,
Tarkin's home planet. Obviously, 200 years in the
okay.
past, but like Iriadu, that's the name. I'm like, oh, that's how the moon got a chunk taken out of it. Was the Great Disaster.
Yep,
That's cool. But yeah,
yep.
no, they're literally known for hunting. Like they're the type of culture that they put their children in the woods, and if they don't survive, then they're just weak.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, that's what this is basically what I'm going to be doing for the next probably few months as I finish reading the other books and then try to like piece it all together. Is like doing the glossary rundown of all the different names and all the different places and like looking up like what we already know of them. I
Yep.
did a little bit of that because that honestly was helping to like kind of tie some stuff together. Um, but there's little pieces that I picked up. I was like, oh, okay, this is why this shows up the way it does. Oh, this is why this is impacted the way it is in the original trilogy.
Well, and the fact that they even put the Santakas in there, I was like, oh, that's cool.
Hmm.
Um, he is the old dude. Lor Santeka is the old dude at the beginning of Force Awakens that Kylo kills.
Oh, okay, cool. That's okay. All right, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool.
And then there's a another character in Test of Courage that shows up in Senate. She's Sanastaros's ancestor who is in the. I don't know if you guys saw this way back when Disney first took over. They did a comic where the big headliner was Han Solo's married, and that was Sonostaros. Um,
Interesting. That
but
wasn't
she's
canon, right?
but no, it's a canon, but it was the it was just like a con that they had run together way back in the day.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um, but that was like the big cliffhangers, like you're I'm Sana Solo or whatever. But she's showed up in like Doctor Aphra and actually her and Doctor Aphra banging, but that's
Yeah.
But she's someone that's shown up in the comics. So I mean, they have seeded this whole while.
Nice.
Um, there's some stuff in the Darth Vader comic that has shown up in this. Little details. There's the Dooku Jedi Lost book, written by Cavan Scott, who's on the writer team. He talks
Right.
about the Lost 20, which is what Dooku is part of. But one of the Jedi is just became a knight in the High Republic. That was one of the Fallen 20 or the Lost 20. So it's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's some really cool stuff that just background information that you don't need to enjoy this, obviously, but
Definitely not. But it
But
does
it-
make it more interesting.
cohesive and stuff like that. It's something I really love.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
I honestly, I was gonna say we can speculate about what's gonna come next, but I have no freaking clue what's gonna
I was
happen.
gonna say, I don't. Yeah, that was the one thing. Like there were so many things that happened in this book that I'm like there's you can do anything. Like the book itself is very much like its own story, which is great, but it also begs a sequel or 5 or 20.
So,
Yeah, which that's what
Um,
Cavan Scott's is like the direct sequel to it in May.
Right.
So
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, that's good. Not too long to wait. Have any of the toxic community come out and
oh yeah, they like
absolutely shit all over this yet?
yeah they won't read. They said it's SJW trash, and I'm like,
wait, The Light of the Jedi?
yeah. If
Really?
so, I'm like, clearly you haven't read this book because it's not.
Dude,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
What? Is it because Lena So is a
No,
woman and
it's just the character
Chancellor?
designs, and they're like,
Oh.
oh, Avar Chris is a woman that's a Jedi Master. It doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure it's just out there because people are.
Sorry, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like
right.
it does not matter whatsoever.
I'm gonna never judge a book by its cover, damn it.
Like, I'm like, just read the book. It's literally one of the best Star Wars things we've had in years.
Yeah.
They're and then another gripe, they're mad about Geode in Into the Dark. Like I said, he's
Uh-huh.
literally a rock. He's a sentient rock.
Uh-huh.
But the way if you looking at him, he's literally a rock. But like in the book, he's great. Like I don't know how to describe it. I can't really say anything without spoiling anything. But he's great.
Okay.
But they're obviously mad at that because they're like, oh, it's a rock. That's just lazy writing. So, they got mad at
Uh,
the Into the Dark or Into the Test of Courage, Justina Ireland,
uh-huh.
because she's black, and she said that white people are racist, and they got mad about that. And I'm like, so maybe they are.
I was say, but there are white people who are racist. So like, why is that pissing
Well,
anybody off?
and it wasn't even like saying that white people were. She was just. It was back when BLM and stuff was happening. Like she was just putting out support, and they attacked
Yeah.
her and stuff like that.
Wow.
Okay,
So-
cool.
Like I'm pretty sure Charles Soule as a person the only one that hasn't got anything because he's a white dude.
Yeah.
But he would also be the biggest proprietor, like defender of everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot of bullshit. But
Well, fuck them.
exactly,
That's my sense
Zack
of
Snyder basically put the nail in coffin for one of them. So
Mhm.
who knows?
Yep. God, we need more people like him.
Honestly, like like this isn't Star Wars, but Zack Snyder is I don't want him to direct a movie. I would like him to direct a TV episode because I
Mhm.
just don't really enjoy his stories, but I enjoy how he directs movies, and I think he's a decent human being.
For now.
Yeah, until we find out that he
Yeah.
like killed somebody or something.
yeah. Until we figure out what his skeletons are.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So everybody who's been coming out with like Star Wars books from the High Republic, do they have any sort of collaboration or they just write
Yeah. No,
what they
there's
want?
5 of them, and they basically they have all 3 phases planned out together.
Okay, so I'm like looking because
Justine Ireland.
Justina Ireland, like those people, they've all like talked to each other, like
Yep.
this is where we're going.
Yep.
Okay.
And like they
Like,
will have their own story beats that they're writing, but they'll talk. They know where the story's going next.
but they're keeping it within the universe. Like, we're not gonna do something completely random that you're not
Yeah, exactly.
following.
They're
Okay,
all working on it together. That's what
thank
makes this
God.
project so special.
Good.
Um, yeah, it's like they've been planning this for years, and they have the entire story planned out. So
Like each one is gonna go down their own
yeah,
path of like
there's
telling a
room to zig and
story.
zag. There's room to zig and zag, but the
Yeah.
overarching story is going to be the same.
Cool. Who are you guys like? What part of Light of the Jedi are you guys excited to see developed? Are you excited to see the Nihil developed
Oh
more
yeah.
as like a bad guy?
I want to. I'm
Like
excited to see.
Jedi.
I'm excited to see the slow moral decay of the Jedi.
Same,
That's
same.
what I want to see.
Because we all
Yeah,
know it's going
All
downhill
the yeah,
slowly.
200
yeah,
years
yeah.
later, like we got the prequel era Jedi like wanting to assassinate people and blinded by the dark. Yeah, like I want to see
Yep.
that. That's what I'm most excited about. Obviously, the Nihil are cool and stuff like that, but I think they're going to be a symptom, not a
Mhm.
not the insides. That like right now we're seeing the Jedi being like, I see it through music. I see it through as an ocean. That's we don't see that in the prequel era, except for maybe Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon
Mhm,
is the most like the best Jedi in the prequel era, and then he gets killed.
mhm. Yeah.
Fuck it.
Oh, I'm wondering if the Nihil are going to be used as kind of
Starting
the
point.
well, just kind of like the agitator that
Mm.
pushes like because we already know worse things are gonna come just from Elzar's vision. So we know that things are going to get more desperate, and I'm wondering if the desperation that the Nihil are going to create is going to drive the Jedi to a point where they start crossing their own boundaries.
Yeah,
Because we've already heard like they've already started kind of talking about how the mind touch is something that some Jedi are not comfortable with
yeah.
because it kind of violates the other person's free will a
Whereas
little
the
bit.
prequel era Jedi, just everybody just throwing her around.
Right. Obi-Wan throwing around like it's candy, just like let's mind touch everybody. Let's just, mind trick you and you and you and you and you. And like you kind of get it at that point because he's mostly directing it to against, stormtroopers and stuff like that. But he's also doing it to like your average
Yeah,
aliens.
you want to go home and rethink your life.
Exactly, exactly. It's like, okay. Yeah, no, like you can see the decline just from there to there. Like there's clearly declines.
Yeah,
But I'm wondering if the explanation for why it became necessary or acceptable is what the Nihil are kind of going to be the cause of pushing the Jedi to a point where they're facing some sort of extinction or some sort of extreme threat to where they actually have to start bending their own rules.
and then also like
Uh,
pushing the Jedi to a more dogmatic way of thinking rather than
yes.
open and free.
Well, I'm wondering if the love story is going to become the love story
The,
between Elzar and Avar is going to become a whole thing and
yeah, I
then
think
get
it will. And
basically
also
basically
Elzar's
axed.
visions.
Yeah.
Like they don't like prophecy in the prequel era. Like there's a lot of things they can do, and they probably will.
Yeah.
I also want to know what the Sith are up to, but that's just me.
Same. Same. Because the war was what, 500 years prior to this?
So they hadn't seen a Sith in so it's like 800 years prior was the
800
last Sith
years.
was seen.
Right.
Yo, how long
Um,
has this been going on?
what the
Star Wars
Jedi
is
Star Wars is long.
Jesus.
yeah,
How
Star
long's
Wars
So
it
has been
been?
like
going on for
No, you just said 800 years. I'm
a
like, how far?
millennia.
I know this dates back far, but damn.
Yeah.
this is 200 years before the prequel era, and
Yeah.
the last Sith the Sith Wars happened 1,000 years prior to the prequels, and this is so 800 years prior to this.
You think
Yeah.
they'll touch hard on that?
I hope they do.
I
I think we're gonna see more of that in the Acolyte, the show that's coming, because
yeah.
that's the end of the High Republic era. That's
Yeah.
50 years before that. But I am a sucker for any of the books that go into the Sith and how they're operating and stuff like that. Like
Yep.
the Legends Darth Bane trilogy is one of the best Star Wars trilogies there is.
I feel like I read one of those.
Drew Carpathian, like literally
Yeah.
like a lot of his stuff that he set up with like the Rule of Two just became canon just because it was so well done.
So well
Um,
done.
Also, the Darth Plagueis book for Legend, which was literally like 2 months away from being canon before, like it came out 2 months before Disney took over.
Mhm.
So it's like canon adjacent. Deals a
Yeah.
lot with like how Plagueis and Sidious were influencing the Senate and stuff like that, and like the Trade Federation. All of it, I just want it, and I want to know what they're doing in the High Republic, because they're not sitting idly by, obviously, because it's 200 years later they take over. Um, yeah, that's what I want to know.
And just so we don't like go into something else, just to keep on with the book. Sean, what was you were asking, like where do we think they're gonna go next?
No, what do you want to see them really dive in? Like, what are
Ah,
you excited to see them dive into next? Like, what's the next thing you want to see fleshed out? Like, if they were to write a book, what would that book be
yeah.
about that would make you go, "Oh my gosh, I have to read this because I was that interested in it from the Light of the Jedi."
At first, I was kind of hoping that like the Nihils weren't gonna be like so crazy problematic, but that literally changed my mind right as I started the book
The Nio is
because what they were,
so freaking cool. Like I'm like,
yeah,
they're space Vikings, but they don't care.
they
Yeah.
don't. I didn't expect that at first, but then like immediately I was like, oh, okay, I'm wrong. Uh, but I mainly the Jedi just to see him like as you guys are talking about just change and just die, just see it all collapse almost.
Yeah.
But definitely the Nihil. I just want to see what they do and how much destruction they give into this universe.
And I also want to know what that rock is that Marchiondro has, because that
Yeah,
because I'm convinced that it somehow separates someone from the Force.
Mm.
Like somehow, like I don't know what it did. Like I'm pretty sure it's a Sith relic.
well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I got heavy Sith vibes from him, but
I
not
don't
in that he is Sith. I
I
get
don't think
more
he is
of
a Sith. I think
he's a
he
tool.
I got a theory that I just thought of right now. What if his
Yeah.
family was part of the Sith cult that was on Exegol that we saw in
Uh-huh.
Rise of Skywalker, and
Uh-huh.
the reason why his father or whatever left is because of that rock or whatever the heck
Uh-huh.
it is. I think his family was Sith cultist.
Well, we know that the Jedi did something to him. Like, he
Exactly.
has his big plan seems to be righting some wrong that we do not yet have any sort of idea for, that was perpetrated by the Jedi in his perspective.
Yeah.
The
Which
family.
is interesting because, well, it's interesting because like the Jedi at this point are pretty decent people.
Yeah.
Like, clearly there's
Maybe
probably some fuckery happening in the background.
maybe some
But
skier's a little bit edgy, but he's a
yeah,
Trandoshan, so that can't be helped.
exactly. So it's like you can't imagine that the Jedi are all that bad, but someone having a vendetta against them, sure, why not? Like that, you get some warped individuals out there who have like a warped view of reality, and maybe something happened. So like he's got a revenge scheme going on, but I don't know what it is. It probably has something to do with the rock. I'm wondering if like that rock is going to be like, to your point, like it separates someone from the Force. I'm wondering if he's going to use it to like try to separate someone from the Force and essentially ruin them as a Jedi because they were somehow involved in the
Oh,
plot.
it's gonna be Loden that he's tested on, obviously.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
didn't they also he also killed oh what was his name? The guy he killed that he said that he killed his father, or so he thinks.
Oh, he doesn't know who killed his father. He's
No,
just
no, I
Yeah.
know that's the thing. Like,
Cassif when he
yeah,
basically lured him out into that battle and then just stranded him there.
I feel
Yeah.
like
And
that's
then
gonna
made him
be
a
a
martyr.
it's gonna be a massive section in the books when they come around to seeing who actually killed his father.
Yeah. It was
I have a feeling.
Plagueis. It's like
Well,
what?
yeah, I have a feeling it has something to do with the Santekas.
Yeah.
Like, I have
Oh,
a feeling
100%.
it's like because Mari Santeca was set up with, like, that whole setup initially happened with Martian Rose's father. So like I feel like there's more, also a little bit of LGBTQ plus representation there with the Santecas. Did not realize that until like a couple days ago. I was like, wait, they're a gay couple. Like, oh, Oh, cool. All right. All right. All right. I see that.
I
Yeah.
didn't notice it. Honestly, it was like it was
Yeah.
just there,
Yeah.
and
It
that's
took me,
how
it
it
took
was
me,
written.
yeah, it took me rereading it later to be like, oh yeah, that happened. Oh wait, they were married. They were a couple. Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Interesting.
And why is
So
it
Um,
that the
strong.
Jedi just go to bang on Naboo? Why is it always Naboo?
I know. Seriously. Seriously.
Anyway,
So yeah, so with the Santecas, like I'm wondering if there was some sort of agreement between the Santeca family and the Rose, and somehow something got in the way, and the Santecas decided to take what's his name? Daddy Bro. They decided to take Daddy Bro out. But
yeah, and who knows
Martian's
how
assuming.
this
Yeah.
the species that Martian is? Who knows how long they live? So
Yeah, exactly.
he could be like 300 years old already, and
Oh, easily.
so
Gross.
there's a lot they can do.
Uh-huh.
There's a the new comic that's coming out this month shows Avar Chris riding a Rancor, and I'm like, what the heck is happening?
Wow.
Are the comics like going off of like the High Republic?
Yep.
So they started like their own thing too. Okay.
Yeah, it's they're all intertwining and stuff like that. Like Yoda in one of the
Hmm.
comics, when he actually gets on Martian Rose ship and he finds the rock. So,
Mm.
like it's just a purple glow or whatever in a chest, and he's like, oh, and that's all we've seen. Um, we've seen a lot of Skier and now his former Padawan, now Knight, who's one of the Fallen 20. Um, but we know that she becomes a master. There's a lot that they're intertwining. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
with each other. A lot of like the Drengir and the Nihil are showing up. There's characters that are showing up in the books that are now in comics and then coming back into the books. Stuff like that. A lot of really cool stuff happening.
So much. I feel like after in the years we go with this, I'm gonna read more and then be like, oh, so that's this person from the Light of the Jedi.
Yeah, well, like so Stellan Geos, who's like part of the trio, is his Padawan, now Knight, is one of the main characters in Test of Courage. And then one of the it's Wraith Silas from Test of Dark. He's the Padawan of Jorah Molly, who is the master who got blown up in the battle.
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot of stuff like that happening. So anyway, have you guys got anything final thoughts you want to say on the book? I really enjoyed it. I don't think that's a surprise.
Oh,
No, no. It was definitely a good jumping off point for me for this. Like I'm excited about this. I mean, we've talked about this in previous episodes. We're like I'm very excited about this new chapter. Like it's very cool. But like this was a good it was epic enough to feel like it belonged in this ongoing story of Star Wars. So I'm happy about that. Um yeah, yeah. I'm curious to find out more about Martian Rowe. I will say, like, currently I picture him. Like, you guys know Prince Aldrin
Yeah,
from
that's
Destiny.
kind of the look I was going for.
That's
Looking.
exactly what I think of him as. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be a little off by a little bit, but I'm excited to kind of see him rendered in a little bit more
They
detail
actually
for us.
just
Like,
put something out that kind of gave those vibes. Let me find the picture. Keep talking. I'll
okay,
find the picture for you.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see him fleshed out. I think he's quite a bit more scheming than we maybe initially gave him credit for.
And smart, like legitimately smart.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see how that kind of plays out, how he ends up uncovering probably more rampant corruption in the Republic. That'll be exciting to see. Um, but yeah, overall, just a fantastic book that like really honestly it's got me nice and excited.
same. As far as being the first Star Wars book I ever read, um, I don't know if this was the best place to start, but
That's his winter gear.
Oh, nice.
it looks interesting. Yeah, I'm excited to read more and to probably read more of these other books to get more of an idea. Uh, Definitely will be going through it again though. I feel like there's a lot of things I missed, but it's a
Yeah, I
great
would
start.
say it probably helps to read. It probably helps to read kind of like a synopsis of the book, like maybe even like a detailed synopsis to kind of get all the pieces put together. But then additionally, what I found helpful was like looking at other people's takeaways on like similar to what we're doing now, like looking at other people's takeaways from the book and kind of looking at some of the things that people are tying together. I've learned a lot from kind of looking at that. So yeah, that's probably a good next step.
It's probably a good idea. I mean, people, I don't know. I just finished the book yesterday, so I barely had time to do a lot of those things. But I think in
Yeah,
the next coming few weeks, I will be doing those, and then also probably starting the other books that are out so far.
nice. What book are we gonna do next, Cock?
Oh,
I mean, if you guys want to, obviously do I
fuck
think
it.
Into the Dark is probably the bigger one. Test of Courage is a short and sweet kind of thing. So up to you guys. I'm already done them. So
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. I guess I'm more or less curious, like which one I should dive into next, just so we can talk about it
I
sooner.
think the one that
Um,
affects more things overall would be Into the
uh-huh.
Dark.
Cool.
However, Test of Courage does bring up some cool lore stuff in terms of just how the Jedi are working and how even the Sith, like they talk about red
Ooh,
lightsabers and stuff like that.
ooh,
But
I
I
do
would
like
say as overall
lore.
story is Into the Dark.
I wasn't
Okay.
helping of what we should start with next because they both sound really good.
I was to say both of those sound like great options, guy. What the
Like
fuck?
into, I would say Test of Courage, get it out of the way. It's only 4 hours
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
in
And
terms of like
Yeah.
an audiobook, and
Done.
it's short and sweet.
Yep. Done. We'll do that one next. That
fine,
sounds like a
right?
good.
I honestly don't think we need an entire podcast for it because it's, like I said, short.
Short. We probably
Cool.
just touch it and then go into the dark,
Yeah.
or just
Definitely.
talk amongst ourselves.
Definitely.
But yeah, that was good. Obviously, if a new Star Wars book gets announced, we'll read it. I want you guys when the new one comes out to be caught up. So then when that one comes out, then we only have one.
Hey, we got 2 months.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. It
Um.
only took us what, a month to read the last one?
Yeah. And I
He's
was even
he's
slow.
he's just glaring at me right now, like you gotta read it faster. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry.
Like, just go to the bathroom and read it, listen to it, play like a game in the background and listen to it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure to go faster for the next one.
All right. Well,
Cool.
with that, we end this one. Welcome to the first book club of Sheep's Throne Room podcast. The archives
Yeah.
are incomplete. All right.
Nice.
Have a
All
good one,
good.
everybody.
See you later.